All right, so strap in for this deep dive because we're heading to South Korea.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and to a place called Jayuro Highway.
Oh,
You guys have sent in tons of stories about this place, and, well, let's just say, it's not your typical road trip destination.
oh, really?
Yeah.
What's so special about this highway?
Well, Jayuro Highway has a certain reputation,
Yeah.
ghostly figures,
Oh, wow.
unexplained accidents, and just like a really uneasy feeling, especially at night.
I see it getting spooky already.
Yeah. And we're going to dig into a text titled The Haunting of Jayuro Highway to see what we can uncover.
All right, let's do it.
So it's interesting how an ordinary road can turn into like a breeding ground for these chilling tales.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the role of ghost stories in cultures.
Right.
This text actually talks a lot about the significance of ghost stories in Korea specifically,
Okay.
and how they're really tied to like history and a sense of place.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So imagine Jayuro Highway during the day.
Okay.
It's pretty normal.
Yeah.
It connects Seoul to the countryside, just your average highway.
Right.
But at night, the source says everything changes,
Uh,
like a totally different vibe,
Yep.
almost like a suffocating silence.
uh,
The shadows get like way deeper, and there's this feeling of isolation
oh, wow.
that's just unsettling.
Oh, yeah. I can see that even if you don't believe in ghosts, just being out there all alone like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So against this like creepy backdrop, we meet our main character, Jinwoo Lee.
Okay.
He's just a regular overworked office worker in Seoul, driving home late one night.
I feel like we all know a Jinwoo Lee.
Right. Just exhausted, probably thinking about anything but ghosts.
Totally.
This is what makes his story so scary, though.
How so?
It could happen to anyone.
True. That makes it way creepier.
Right. He's not like some ghost hunter looking for the paranormal.
Yeah, he's just a dude trying to get home.
Exactly. Just trying to get home after a long day.
Okay.
But then as he's driving along this, desolate stretch of highway, he sees her,
He sees who?
a woman in white, just standing by the side of the road.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And the source really goes into detail about this encounter.
Okay.
It's not just a shadowy figure.
Right.
It's a woman in like this shimmering white gown illuminated by the moonlight.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Right? And she's described as being eerily still
Oh, wow.
with a pale face and just empty eyes.
Ooh, creepy.
It's like playing on our deepest fears.
Yeah, I get that. Like the unknown, something otherworldly.
Yeah, and something just suddenly appearing that shouldn't be there.
Makes you think twice about driving at night.
Seriously. So imagine how unsettling this must have been for Jinwoo.
Yeah, especially late at night when you're already tired and your mind is playing tricks on you.
Right. So what do you think he does?
I don't know. Stops to help, maybe.
Yeah, he slows down, being a decent human being.
Oh,
Maybe she needs help.
right.
And this is where the source like really gets you.
Okay, how so?
So he rolls down his window to ask if she's all right,
Uh-huh.
and she just vanishes.
Oh my God.
Like no explanation, no trace, nothing.
Whoa.
It makes you wonder if he actually saw her or if it was all in his head.
Totally. That's such a classic horror movie thing, though.
I know, right? But it works.
It really does. It leaves you wondering if it really happened.
Exactly. So as Jinwoo keeps driving,
Yeah.
he's trying to tell himself it was nothing,
Right.
But then he glances in his rearview mirror, and guess what?
What?
The woman in white is back,
Oh, no, where?
sitting in his back seat.
Oh my God, no.
Yeah, just no sound.
Whoa.
No movement, just her presence.
That's terrifying.
Right. The source does such a good job of using silence and stillness to create this sense of dread.
I can only imagine what Jinro must be feeling at this point.
I know, as readers, we experience that same shock and fear.
Yeah.
So what does he do? He swerves, nearly crashes, screams.
Okay. Yeah, that's understandable.
Right. Like a totally normal reaction.
For sure.
But when he finally stops and turns around,
Uh-huh.
the back seat's empty again.
What? No way.
It's like a roller coaster of emotions.
I bet.
And the source just keeps going.
Doesn't let up at all.
Nope, as he's desperately trying to rationalize what just happened.
Okay.
The story takes another turn.
Oh no, what now?
It's not just visual anymore.
What do you mean?
The woman's voice suddenly fills the car.
Oh God, no.
This disembodied voice, urging him to leave the highway.
Like a warning.
Yeah, but forceful.
Oh, wow.
And this adds a whole new layer of terror.
Totally. It's not just something he's seeing anymore.
Well-
It's invading his space, like his last bit of safety.
And there's like this urgency in her warning.
Like something bad's about to happen if he doesn't listen.
Exactly. The source describes him frantically scanning the road ahead.
Oh no.
His heart's pounding. And then he sees it.
What does he see?
A car wreck.
Oh, no.
A mangled, overturned car.
Oh, God.
And as he gets closer,
Yeah.
he realizes with horror
Uh-oh.
that it's his car.
Wait, what?
Yeah, but that's not even the worst part.
What could be worse than that?
He sees himself inside the wrecked car.
No way.
Dead.
Oh, my God.
This is where the story goes from just a haunting to something really freaky.
So what is it?
It's a loop.
A loop.
Yeah, like a cyclical trap where he's stuck reliving this terrifying experience over and over again.
That's messed up.
And right then, the woman in white reappears
Oh, God, no.
and explains that Jayuro Highway claims those who ignore its warnings.
So it's like a malevolent force or something?
Yeah, like a curse almost.
That's crazy.
And poor Jinwoo's stuck in this horrifying loop.
Forced to relive his death over and over.
But get this, the woman then reveals that Jinwoo is not alone.
There are others.
Other souls trapped on this highway, victims who also ignored the warnings, their torment echoing through eternity.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a personal tragedy?
Nope, it's something way bigger and more unsettling.
Wow. So what do you think so far?
I don't know about you, but this is pretty creepy.
Yeah, no kidding.
What stands out to you?
I think just the sheer despair of being trapped in a loop of your own death. It's a terrifying concept.
Yeah, definitely makes you think twice about those late-night drives.
For sure.
But Jinwoo's story isn't just some isolated incident.
What do you mean?
The source goes on to talk about the wider lore of Jayuro Highway.
Okay, so like how his experience has become part of the legend.
Exactly, and in the epilogue, we get a glimpse of how Jinwoo's tragedy has kind of seeped into the area's collective consciousness.
That's so interesting. Like, how so?
People report seeing, like, a phantom car speeding by
Oh, wow.
with a terrified figure at the wheel.
That's creepy.
Some even claim to have encountered the woman in white,
Really?
still standing by the roadside watching.
So, like, his suffering has amplified the haunting itself.
It's like this cycle of fear feeding itself, you know?
It really shows the power of storytelling.
Right, even when we can't be sure what's real and what's made up.
If a place is known for ghost sightings, our minds tend to interpret any strange occurrence as proof. Like we're primed to see what we expect to see.
Exactly, and the source ends with this really thought-provoking statement.
What is it?
It acknowledges that most people dismiss these stories as superstition, but then it adds, those who've driven the highway late at night know better.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Right, like it's daring us to question our own beliefs.
So where do we stand? Is Jayuro Highway truly cursed, or are there more rational explanations for these events?
Well, I'm always a bit skeptical when it comes to the supernatural.
Are understandable.
There are psychological factors we can't ignore, like the power of suggestion.
So if you've heard stories about a haunted highway,
You're more likely to interpret a shadow or a noise as something paranormal.
like our brains filling in the blanks with what we already believe, right?
Exactly, whether it's actually there or not.
Makes sense. What else could be at play?
Stress and fatigue are huge factors, especially when driving late at night,
True, our cognitive functions are impaired.
making us more susceptible to hallucinations or misinterpretations. I don't know, I've seen some weird things on the road after a long day of driving.
Yeah, and it's not just individual perception either. Have you ever heard of shared hallucinations?
I think so. Isn't that when groups of people experience heightened emotions or anxiety?
Exactly. And if one person reports seeing something unusual, it can trigger similar perceptions in others.
Leading to a sort of collective delusion.
Right, so it could be a combination of pre-existing beliefs,
Our mental and emotional states, and even the influence of those around us.
all contributing to these seemingly paranormal encounters.
It's a good reminder to be critical thinkers, to question what we see and hear.
And consider all possible explanations.
But even with all the rational explanations,
Those stories from Jayuro Highway still retain their power.
there's something about ghost stories that just fascinates us
They tap into our deepest fears and anxieties about the unknown,
and remind us of our own mortality, of the unseen forces that might be at work in the world.
making us question the very nature of reality itself.
What is real? What is imagined? Where does that line blur?
It's a question that has haunted us for centuries.
Literally and figuratively.
Exact.
But there's one question that keeps coming back to me.
What's that?
The woman in white.
Oh, yeah.
Who is she?
Yeah.
What's her story? What does her presence reveal about Jayuro Highway's true nature?
Ah, the mystery of the specter. That's what really gets us.
The source is deliberately vague about her identity.
But perhaps that's what makes her so compelling.
She embodies the unknown, the unknowable.
Makes you want to learn more.
So let's explore that mystery.
Let's do it.
Let's dive into the origins of the woman in white.
Okay.
because
Yeah.
what we uncover might be even more unsettling than the stories we've heard so far.
Can't wait.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's like you're stuck.
And you can't escape.
Totally. And the source goes on to say that Jinwoo's story has actually become like a part of the local legend.
Oh, really? So other people know about this.
Yeah, it's like his experience is now woven into the fabric of the highway.
That's wild. Right. And in the epilogue, we see how this tragedy has seeped into the collective consciousness of the area.
Oh, wow. How so?
People report seeing a phantom car speeding by.
No way.
Yeah, and they describe a terrified figure at the wheel.
Oh my God, that's creepy.
Some even claim to have encountered the woman in white themselves.
Still standing by the road.
Yeah, watching.
It's so unsettling.
It's like Jinwoo's suffering has amplified the haunting, making the highway even more dangerous.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly, a cycle of fear feeding itself.
And you know, it really highlights the power of stories.
Right, even if we can't be sure what's real and what's embellished.
If a place is known for ghost sightings, we tend to interpret anything strange as proof.
Like we're primed to see what we expect to see.
Exactly, and the source makes this really interesting point.
What's that?
It says, and I quote, "Those who've driven the highway late at night know better."
Oh, that sends chills down my spine.
Right, like a challenge to our beliefs.
So where does that leave us? Is Jayuro Highway truly cursed? Or is there a more rational explanation?
Well, I always try to approach these things with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Right.
I mean, we can't discount psychological factors.
Like what?
The power of suggestion, for instance.
Okay, so if you've heard all these stories about a haunted highway,
You're more likely to interpret a shadow or a strange sound as something paranormal.
our brains fill in the blanks
Exactly.
with what we already believe, even if it's not really there.
And don't forget about stress and fatigue.
Oh, yeah, especially when you're driving late at night.
It's when our cognitive functions are already impaired.
And making us more susceptible to hallucinations,
The
right?
misinterpretations of what we see and hear.
I know. I've definitely seen some weird things on the road after a long day of driving.
And have you ever heard of shared hallucinations?
Yeah, I think so.
It's when a group of people, especially under stress,
Right?
experience heightened emotions.
Like anxiety.
Exactly.
And if one person sees something unusual,
It can trigger similar perceptions in others.
leading to a collective delusion.
It's pretty fascinating, actually.
Those could be a mix of things, right? Our beliefs, our mental and emotional states, the influence of others.
All coming together to create these seemingly paranormal encounters.
So critical thinking is key.
Always question what you see and hear.
Consider all the possibilities.
But even with all the rational explanations, these stories from Jayuro Highway are still chilling.
They really tap into our deepest fears.
The fear of the unknown, of what lies beyond.
The fear of death.
The idea that there might be forces at work that we don't understand.
Forces that can control our destiny.
It makes you question the nature of reality itself.
What's real and what's imagined?
Where does that line blur?
These are questions that have haunted humanity for centuries.
Literally and figuratively.
But there's one question that keeps coming back to me.
What's that?
The woman in white.
Yeah.
Who is she? What's her story? Why is she tied to this highway?
The mystery of the specter.
It's what makes her so captivating.
The source doesn't reveal much about her.
But that just adds to her power.
She represents the unknown.
The unknowable.
Makes you want to dive deeper.
So let's do it.
Let's uncover the origins of the woman in white.
Because what we find might be even more unsettling than the stories we've heard so far.
I'm ready, are you?
Let's go. Okay, so we've talked about Jinwoo's encounter, the loop, and like the psychology behind it all.
Right.
But there's still this one big question mark.
The woman in white.
Exactly. She's at the center of everything, but the source keeps her a total mystery.
It's like her anonymity adds to her power, you know?
Right. We don't know her name, her story, her motives, anything really.
We just know that she's both a victim of the curse and kind of like a conduit for it.
Yeah, that's what makes her so eerie.
She warns Jinwoo, but she's obviously trapped, too.
It's like she's both prisoner and warden, stuck in this nightmare.
And when she says the highway claims those who ignore the warnings...
It makes you wonder if she was once a traveler herself, just like Jinwoo.
Yeah, like a classic ghost story trope, the spirit tied to the place of their death.
Unable to move on.
Maybe her warnings are a way of trying to save others from the same fate.
But there's also this anger in her voice, you know?
Oh yeah, like a resentment almost.
Yeah, as if she blames those who don't listen for becoming part of the problem.
It adds another layer to her character.
It's not just pure evil, it's like a deep sorrow, a sense of giving up.
Maybe she's lost all hope of escaping the loop.
And that bitterness comes out in how she interacts with the living.
It makes her story even more tragic, doesn't it?
Totally. Trapped forever, unable to find peace.
The only way she can connect with the world is through these scary encounters.
And these warnings that are often ignored.
It makes you think about the nature of hauntings in a whole new way.
What if they're not always meant to be harmful?
What if they're attempts at communication, cries for help from beyond?
That's a chilling thought,
Maybe these ghost stories aren't just about scaring us.
but about making us rethink life and death and the blurry line between the two.
It adds a whole other dimension to the legend of Jayuro Highway.
It's not just about ghost sightings. It's about a place where the veil between worlds is thin.
Where echoes of past tragedies linger, reaching out to us.
So if you're ever driving on Jayuro Highway late at night,
Keep your eyes peeled, listen closely,
you might just hear the whispers of those trying to guide you, to warn you.
to keep you from suffering the same fate as those who didn't heed the signs.
And maybe, by acknowledging their presence, by just listening,
We can offer some comfort to those souls trapped in the shadows, forever bound to the road that claimed them.
that's it for our deep dive into the haunting of Jayuro Highway.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll be back next week with another spooky topic, but until then,
Stay curious,
stay skeptical.
and maybe avoid those deserted highways late at night.
Seriously.